All right, we're here with Susan Wojcicki, the CEO of YouTube, and we are at YouTube's headquarters where Susan presides over her many people who work for her. We've been talking about Hollywood and how it's changed and what she's doing at YouTube. Let's change the subject just a tiny bit. You wrote an essay recently about the incident at Google. I know you were involved with the decision-making around the firing of James Damore, who had written an essay that alleged a bunch of things. He was saying he was not saying that women were more neurotic. I feel like he kind of did. He did. And there was a lot of controversy around it, but Google acted pretty quickly. And this diversity issue has been a big one for Silicon Valley. And you have been one of the people at the forefront of trying to change that, and one of the few women leaders really in powerful positions. Can you talk a little bit about that essay and what your point you were trying to make and what happened there?
Sure. Well, so first of all, the issue of diversity in women in Silicon Valley has been the one that's been really, really near and dear to my heart for a long time. I mean, just because I feel like I'm in meetings all the time, I see the fact that there are a lot more men than women, and I see that women are missing out. Right. And I also see the way technology is changing our world, and I'm concerned because I see that only 20% of the computer science degrees are being earned by women. And so, if we're going to have this force of change, I want to make sure that women are equally represented in that change. So this is something I've been working on for a long time. I've been working on it professionally. I've been working on it at Google. I've been a big spokesperson for it.
Yeah, you have.
And as a mother, I've also worked on it with my children.
Yeah, you have like 83 children.
Yes,
right?
I have many children. And I've been working on it and I've talked about, some of the challenges that I've seen actually as a parent, right? I mean, I can say whatever I want professionally, but then I come home, I also need to make sure that in my home that I'm doing the same sets of messages, right? And having success. And that's actually been a really interesting thing for me, is to see kind of my kids' reactions to computer science and what they like about it or don't like about it. But when James Damore wrote his memo...
This is an engineer at Google.
Who is an engineer at Google, who wrote this memo that was very controversial.
And it was put on Google. Google allows people to put things on these different they have many, many platforms for communication. Way too many, actually.
So Google allows everyone to communicate about everything. We have many email aliases. We have many ways for people to share and discuss and debate. That's a really core part of the value, is enabling people to discuss. So he wrote a memo, which I think has been well understood by your users, right, where he made different assertions in terms of women's capabilities in tech, and why they were less likely to be in tech and to be leaders in tech, right? And I was actually on vacation when that memo came out. Yeah. Okay. I was trying to get away. And I had read it, and we were at dinner, and I was talking about it with my kids, and the first question they had about it, well, is that true? And that really, really surprised me, because here I am. I've spent so much time, so much of my career to try to overcome stereotypes. I've done everything, and then here it was this letter that was somehow convincing
your kids,
my kids, and
diminishing you,
and many other women in the industry. And men in the industry, right, that was not true, or convincing that they were less capable in some way as a result. And so that really upset me. And I felt like it was important for me as a woman leader to actually say something that there were many points of view about this, but I didn't want it just to be different men talking about women and their capabilities. I felt like as a woman, I needed to speak up and to say, look, this is hard. It's hard to be a woman in tech sometimes. It's hard to deal with all these implicit challenges, and then to have these explicit challenges as well, to have people discussing and debating your capabilities because of your gender is really, really, really difficult. And that's why I wrote the op-ed that I did. Google
Which you were defending the firing, which you were part of the decision making on that.
Yes, I was. I was part of it. It was a group that made that decision. I was supportive of it, and I felt that it was. We felt that he violated the code of conduct. That promoting harmful stereotypes in the workplace was problematic. Google's working incredibly hard to bring more women into the workforce, and to have promotion of harmful stereotypes is really, really difficult.
And what I think, were you surprised by the backlash that everyone should say what they want? And I was like, not at work, you can't, for certain. You can do it in your free time kind of stuff. But were you surprised by the backlash of the free? There was almost a march. There was almost.
I mean, I think people are confused about the platforms versus the company. So Google and YouTube, both companies are really, really important in the free speech discussion. In fact, it was interesting.
And to people who work here are very that way.
Well, we
too.
all care about free speech, but
Right.
I'm just saying there's our platforms. Like, in fact, James Damore did his first interview with a YouTube creator. So that discussion on the platform, that's fine to have on the platform. We have lots of rules around the platform,
about
but we tolerate
hate speech and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, if you get into hate speech, it's a little
violence,
bit different,
right.
or violence or promoting violence. But we just enable a broad range of topics to be discussed on the platform from all different points of view. But it's different if you're within a company and you're within a company. We're trying to promote more women, and people feel uncomfortable about that. I mean, think about how you would feel if you were a woman and James Damore was on your promotion committee,
right?
Or to see that the company was enabling this type of harmful stereotype to persist and perpetuate within the company.
Right.
And so I think within a company, it's very, there's a different set of rules within a company than there is on a platform that is about free speech.
Are you hopeful about the diversity issue? Because it's really just one sexual harassment lawsuit at Uber, at SoFi, at everywhere else. How do you look at this? Because you've been here for a long time.
I'm hopeful about it. I mean, I think that we're just so early. I mean, the fact that we are undergoing this change is like undergoing the printing press revolution. And it would be like undergoing printing press and only 20% of people that could read or write would be women, right? Literature would be different. Society would be different. And, eventually, today, everyone reads and writes, right? Regardless of their gender or their race. And so I do think over time this will get resolved. I think the way to resolve it ultimately, I think computer science should be a mandatory class that's given to everybody.
Right.
I mean, like if everybody has to take biology and chemistry, they can take computer science. Like computer science is a more useful skill right now
than a lot of it, and
than a lot of other things that people are learning in school right now. And I don't want to say one is better than the other, but they're all important. But there is no computer science being taught by many students.
Right.
And so I think that's really a problem. And when we do make it more generally available, then I think it will be, that will solve some of the issues, because then by definition, everyone will be educated in this area. People will understand, yes, women are great at this, men are great at this. Everyone can do
instead of
this.
the self-selecting thing that happens now.
Right now, it's a self-selecting, and I think there's something in computer science where they've actually seen these studies where they said, in the 80s, when people started to have personal home computers, that's actually when the numbers changed. And for some reason, boys were more gravitated to that more. And so the theory is, when you get into this entry-level class, it's not really an entry-level class anymore, because there's a set of people who have already learned a lot, and there's an expectation that you're higher. And I've seen that with my own kids. What I found is that if you supplement and I was able to support them early enough, then when they were in those entry-level classes, they felt they were good at it.
Right. And so they didn't feel defeated.
So then they didn't feel defeated.
Right.
And
so are you, one of the adjacent things is sort of the coarsening of the culture, which some people blame YouTube and Twitter and now Facebook for. Facebook's getting attacked. How do you look at the political culture? Now, YouTube hasn't been sucked into it quite as much as Facebook clearly has right now, and Twitter has been used by the president for all kinds of messages. How do you look at that? How do you consider that?
Well, we're a platform about free speech, and we think it's really, really important that we enable all of that discussion. And we see all types of discussions happening on YouTube. I mean, one of the things that we've actually done is we have this program called Creators for Change, where we've actually found individuals who are promoting messages of tolerance. They're fighting some of the really hard issues like Islamophobia or misogyny. And so we've actually awarded them as Creators for Change. We're giving them funding. It gives them more promotion, better equipment. We are promoting them ourselves with the idea of how can we get some of these voices of tolerance and really powerful messages out there. But as a platform overall, our goal is just to enable all voices to come out for them to be able to communicate.
Have you looked into whether the Russians have used YouTube? Because today it moved to Twitter, and obviously Google has been pulled into it too. But have you been looking at that, whether they've used YouTube for nefarious purposes? Well,
we're always monitoring YouTube for abuse and trying to understand how it's being used on our platform, who's monitoring it. We think it's an incredibly serious issue. We've been looking to make sure that we fully understand the way it's been used by different parties. We don't see that right now, but I just want to say, we're taking it incredibly seriously, and And, to date, we don't see anything, but we're always monitoring our service to fully understand it.
And Leslie, 2 more questions. Are you worried about Silicon Valley getting attacked more with regulatory issues? Obviously, Google has faced a lot of headwinds in Europe, but there's sort of a growing feeling that Silicon Valley is about to get its smacked around a little bit, and from a government point of view.
I do worry about it. I think it's hard because we're moving so fast. I think it's really hard for regulators to understand how fast we actually are moving and how quickly all of these markets are evolving. And so by the time you actually get the regulators involved and you get them up to speed and they understand it and they all agree and they make a rule, it's somewhat outdated.
Right.
And so the other chance is like they could make the wrong rule, right? They could make a rule that is completely impossible for us to comply with. It causes us a lot of time and heartache to figure out how do we handle this. And so I think self-regulation is really the best
Well, that's what
opportunity.
Silicon Valley's had.
Well, I still think that is like the best.
Do you see the winds of, the clouds gathering? Or it's definitely, Trump yesterday, Facebook is anti-Trump, or, it's starting to really focus in on tech.
Well, because tech is an important change.
Yeah.
It's an important factor of change. And kind of back to my, I feel like I saw this,
Yeah.
I've seen this throughout my career.
Right.
I've kind of have been able to, see what, the impact of this. I think, yes, tech is going to continue to be an important area. What we need to do is we need to continue to communicate more with policymakers.
Right.
And I think that's a place that's really important, is to better that they better understand, what are we doing? Why are we doing it? Hearing their feedback, figuring out how we can be responsive to that.
Right.
And so I think, it's maybe like the Hollywood and the Silicon Valley discussion that we had before.
Eventually, yeah.
That both sides need to better understand each other and then figure out what's the right compromise that we need to have.
All right. Last question. You have a YouTube channel?
Yes, I just started my YouTube channel.
You just 4 years later? Would you just figure out the platform or something?
So it's great. You're in your question. You're almost implying of course you should have a YouTube channel.
Of course. You
so
should. You are the CEO.
Yes,
you know what I mean?
yes. I'm super. Well,
right.
So
I write for Recode sometimes.
I'm glad. Yes, and you do podcasts as we're doing right now.
Yeah.
So of course I've uploaded content to YouTube, right?
Right.
And I had always uploaded content to YouTube.
Mostly your knitting lessons. What? I don't know. What I'm teaching.
Just stuff I saw.
Right.
They were kind of more like the user generated, like when I was at Fortune Brainstorm, I saw a bear, right? It was kind of funny to all these tech people, and then a bear sort of pouncing through the through the crowd, right? So just interesting things I saw. I had posted that on my channel, but then I thought, I want to become a really serious creator because I manage a platform that's used by all these creators, and the only way I can really understand this is to be a creator myself. And so I decided I'm going to launch my own channel, and I just launched it yesterday.
What's it called? The Susan Wojcicki channel?
Yeah, it's just Susan Wojcicki channel. Like all creators, most channels are usually their name.
And what is your speciality, Susan Wojcicki?
Well, I'm going to cover a number of things. First of all, I'm going to interview creators when they come to our
good idea.
to YouTube. So I'm actually going to be like you. So maybe you can give me some good tips.
Yeah.
But I'm making it mine really short.
Neg people like I'm doing to you
that
right
doesn't
now.
work so well.
It works really well. But go
maybe
ahead.
for you. I don't know if that will work for me, running the
everybody.
platform with all the creators. So my goal is to make this more positive.
These are golden tips, but go ahead.
Okay.
All right, so creators, what else?
So I'm going to have creators come when they come to headquarters. I'm going to call it 2 by 2. They ask me 2 questions. I ask them 2. So stay tuned. I'm going to post one really soon on that.
Okay, great. All right.
I'm also going to post on just, so on the Damore example that we just talked about, maybe next time I would do a video about that. Things that I feel strongly about, an opportunity for me to express that point of view. And then the third thing is that I get questions from creators about running the platform. So whenever I go to a city, I go to Poland or
questions
Warsaw.
for Susan, I like that.
Questions about YouTube, right? I mean, we have millions of creators, and they have questions why aren't my notifications showing up the way I expected them to show? Or when are you having this feature? Why did you get rid of that feature? Tell me about monetization, right? So there are lots and lots of questions, and so I want to be able to hear their questions and then go out and put that on my channel. And,
I see.
So what I realized is it's a more scalable way. When I go to a city, I meet with 10
You're
creators.
You're
that's
always
great.
Creating
but
content.
how do I just make it scalable and post it and make it available for the millions of creators on our platform?
Will there be any singing?
I'm a terrible singer.
All right.
I
No
am not
singing.
going to sing.
No cover.
I will
there?
say
no Demi Lovato covers.
No, I'm not a. That is not in my
But you're going to get Demi on this thing. Let's put Demi. She gets lots of people seeing
well,
she seems to be popular.
Interview her, for example, and have her on my channel. So actually my first video that I just uploaded is actually advice of all these creators to me on how to run my own channel. And so they were really funny. I mean, these
walk
creators,
into a wall. That's one of them. Play video games and have people watch it.
Oh,
What was their number one advice? And then we'll let you go and run your company.
They said be authentic.
Oh yes, that's
be yourself.
That's true.
So I think it's great advice. Yeah,
all right.
Be yourself. I'm gonna be me.
All right.
Talk about what I do, and
we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, so you can watch it. I encourage all your listeners to check out my channel. They can all subscribe.
What's it, Susan Wojcicki YouTube? Just search on it.
Yes.
All right.
It's not hard.
All right.
YouTube.
Maybe I'm going to start a YouTube channel and
I think
see if I can compete.
So that's actually one of our goals. Our goal is like everyone who has a public presence should have a YouTube channel.
Yeah.
It's an opportunity to upload their videos. We have all these features to be able to communicate with
between
notifications.
Snapchat and Instagram and all these other things all day long. No, I don't have any time.
But one thing that's unique about YouTube and one of the reasons that is really different is like you can actually earn revenue. Right?
All right. Well, then you know what? I'm just going to sit around and say rude things and then just publish them like some rant.
Well, if you're funny, humor works really well.
I'm funny.
So if you're funny, which I know you are,
all right, okay.
then
all right, you've sold me, Susan Wojcicki.
Okay, good.
All right.
I'm gonna be looking for the Kara Swisher YouTube channel.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be waiting for that one.
It's called Shut the Fuck Up.